Well, hello everybody. My name is Trent. You're listening to Never Seen It. Of course, I'm sitting here with Betsy.
Hi, Trent.
This, of all days, is the most special day we have had on this podcast because, guys, if you did not know, Saturday, March 21st, when this audio is being released, is our 5-year anniversary.
We have been doing Never Seen It with Betsy and Trent since 2021. How have we already made it 5 whole years, Trent?
Holy crap. How have we not stopped this podcast? I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of times.
You are not sick of me yet. You are married to me. You podcast with me. We have done so many episodes, and we don't intend to stop. But today, we're doing kind of a State of the Union, State of the Podcast, just to reflect on the last 5 years.
Yeah, this is very much us just kind of riffing over the past 5 years. We got a list of questions that we're going to ask each other, kind of like how we do in our worst specials, where I have no idea what Betsy wrote down and she doesn't know what I wrote down. But also, we have some stuff that we're going to announce here at the end of this special, so you're going to have to endure us talking about the podcast for however long that we're going to talk here. If you're not already patrons of ours, this whole thing is going to be kind of like how we do our Conversation Pit episodes on Patreon, where Betsy and I are just talking to each other. But in this case, we get to actually talk about some movies because, hey, yeah, this is a movie podcast. If you did not know already, this is a movie podcast about movies that we have not seen yet. How many times have I said exactly that?
It's one of those things that didn't start out as part of the show.
Yeah.
It sort of happened through repetition and happened organically.
Fits.
And then after a while, it's like, yeah, we'll just keep that. That's how we're going to start the show.
About movies that we haven't seen yet.
There has only ever been one rule for the podcast, and that is that the movie that we are going to watch has to be new to at least one of us.
Yeah.
We try to find movies that are new to both of us, but,
yeah,
we do the best we can. We've only broken this rule a few times, and it's when we're doing a big series. And it just feels so incomplete to not include the first movie.
Yeah, we did that back for our first big series. That was the Fast and Furious movies.
We did it for Indiana Jones.
We did it for Indiana Jones. I think there's another one in there somewhere. Twilight.
Had you seen?
I had already seen the first Twilight.
You saw something in that series.
Yeah,
anyway.
I saw the first Twilight movie in the theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can't do those series and skip the first one. And in most of those cases, you had only seen the first movie, and you had only seen it once, in some cases 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think I had already seen the first Spider-Man once, but in chunks. We talk about that in those episodes, of course. But yeah, we kind of have to break the rules every so often for the sake of the content anyway. And part of our announcement at the end of the episode is going to be talking about some of those rules, but we'll save that for the end of the show.
But it's also our show. We can start rules, break rules.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want.
Absolutely. And kind of going along with this, guys, I put an episode number or at least a movie number at the beginning of every movie title in the podcast episode. If you're not paying attention to that, that number is the amount of movies that we have covered for this main show.
And that is not counting any of the stuff that we've done on Patreon. We have done so many movies together.
Yeah. When this is coming out, I think we have just over 150 other movies that we have covered for Patreon. And some of those, of course, are movies that we have seen before. But for the sake of that content over there, we allow ourselves to talk about it. Because, hey, some of those are our favorite movies of all time. But if you're paying attention, you might have noticed, hey, we're coming up on a really, really big milestone. The first episode in May is going to be movie number 400. And what have we been doing for the past, 3 years, Betsy?
This would be the third year.
Third year in a row, we're going to be doing Big Movie May. And guys, I'm just going to say right now, this is going to be the biggest Big Movie May we have ever done on this podcast.
You are getting ahead of yourself. You're skipping straight to the announcements.
I don't care. I don't care. This is episode 400. Movie number 400 is the first one of the month. It's going to be huge. But that's my first announcement. I'm just going to get that out of the way.
And yeah, if you're doing the math, We're at 5 years and almost 400 movies on this show alone.
Yep.
It's because when we started, we were trying to get our feet wet. We were trying to put the content out there. And if you didn't go back that far with us, we were doing 2 episodes a week because we're lunatics.
And we continue to do 2 episodes a week, 2 movies a week. It's just that one episode comes out on Sunday on this show, and the rest of them come out on Wednesdays on Patreon.
We went hard, though, in the early days.
We did.
And there's a lot of content out there that I think, if we're being objective, it's not very good.
Oh, no. And that's really what we're going to be talking about here. I've got, like a list of 10 questions at least here that we're going to be asking each other, and some of it has to do with our early stuff. So, Betsy, should we just get started with these questions?
Let's go for it.
All right. The first one, Betsy, ladies first, always. What is a movie from an episode that you wish that you could experience for the first time again and maybe redo that episode?
I only had one answer for this, and it came to me immediately, and I expect you probably have the same one.
Probably.
Drive.
Yep.
We did that in the middle. We did like a mini series within a larger series because we
Yes.
were doing all of the Fast and Furious movies, but it felt like so much of that. It was just too much of one thing.
Yeah, there was 10 movies that we were going to do back to back. So we decided, you know what? Let's take a detour, away from the Fast and Furious series and do some movies that are maybe adjacent.
We did thematically similar movies, so
Yeah.
they all kind of had something to do with like cars or driving
Heist,
or heist. Yeah, there was sort of a theme within a theme, and we watched Drive because we had heard this movie was amazing. For years, we had been putting off watching it, and we finally had a reason. And we were so unprepared for what that movie ended up being, and we were so green to podcasting that I was kind of stunned into silence. We barely made it to like half an hour.
It remains
It was-
our shortest episode of all time for both of our content platforms.
And I just would love to be able to go back now, like have all of my access to my memory and my skills that I have gained podcasting
Yep.
so that I can articulate myself better. But I want to get rid of the memory of watching Drive so that I can do it better this time. Because it is my biggest regret looking back. I just wish I could have articulated that movie so much better than I did.
We didn't have the vocabulary really built up in our own minds and have the skill talking into this here microphone to really express what we were feeling. We were both just completely dumbfounded. And I knew, Betsy, of course, this was going to be your selection, as it is mine.
Okay, I was going to say, I assume it is also yours.
100%. And honestly, I could have gone back and tried to pick out, okay, maybe there's some other ones here that I'm not so proud of that we did very early on. But you know,
Trent, you could argue like the first 50 episodes.
Oh, I would say
There's
first 150
first
episodes.
100 episodes. There's a lot of not good episodes.
Just not good content.
We didn't know how to talk about the movies. We didn't know how to break ourselves of all the bad habits you have to form, where it's just like, and just regurgitating movies. Like that's most of what our episodes are at the beginning is just recounting the movie that we just watched.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about that at the end of our questioning here. But what's our next one, Betsy?
What movie are you most surprised that you liked or disliked as much as you did?
Betsy, I have 3 of each. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these selections. For movies that I was most surprised at, and I'm going to try to go backwards here and not cover some of the ones that we've already kind of talked about in our other award shows. This is back when we maybe didn't even have the category of like most disappointed or most surprising or whatever. I just want to talk about these movies some more. First of all, it should come as no surprise for those of you who listened to that episode and have seen the movie. but I am still dumbfounded that we love the movie Striptease as much as we did. I re-listened to that episode recently, and I am still just flabbergasted at how entertaining that movie is for being a fucking shit movie.
We also had no idea after 30 plus years that it was a comedy.
Yeah.
Somehow we went our entire lives without that information until we were watching it.
And guys, you're going to notice a theme here because my second one is Basic Instinct. Because the two series that we're doing those two movies for, I can't remember what we called it in the beginning with Basic Instinct, but the theme kind of was, hey, it's a lot of smutty movies or like sexy movies or whatever the fuck. Basic Instinct had a reputation behind it of, hey, this is just a bunch of tits and ass on screen and it's going to be a grand old time. But no, Basic Instinct as just a fucking crime drama is amazing. And I can't believe that I've never actually gone back to watch it again.
I am also shocked about that. Spoiler alert, it's one of mine too.
Okay. My last one is actually one that I crowned as my favorite new watch that year. It's The Graduate. Holy crap, did that movie really impress me?
It lived up to its reputation, and it took us having a podcast for me to get you to sit down and watch The Graduate.
And it was also one of these movies that wasn't a part of a series. It was just, hey, let's watch kind of a classic movie that Trent has never seen. Ever so often we have done that. We do movies that are not a part of a series just to kind of check them off the list. And some of those that we just do randomly are the ones that really stick with you. But Betsy, before I get into my negative ones, what are the rest of your positives?
Well,
if you have more.
I do. So yeah, like I said, Basic Instinct. The next one that I put was Midsommar.
Ooh.
Because we, at the beginning of our podcasting journey, were self-professed, we don't like horror people.
Yep.
And we have really been going down that road a lot more. But Midsommar was in the early days. That was in our first year. And it floored me. The way it is constructed, the way it is horror but in sunlight. I have never seen a movie like that before. And I have not watched it again. Same thing. We have not rewatched it. But I think about that movie a lot.
Yeah,
okay.
Kind of the same thing with Hereditary. We haven't rewatched that movie either, but Ari Aster, dude, you got a bright future, man.
Yeah, I look forward to what else he's going to offer. I had a whole bunch of other ones that I wrote down, but for the sake of time, so this isn't a 6-hour podcast, I'm going to go with the Tron series. Before we started podcasting, I had never seen Tron. And we have now watched all 3 Tron movies. And yes, I am including the most recent one because guess what? I liked it. I know most people didn't, but I had a good time. And I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed the first Tron and the second Tron before we even got there.
With the Tron just series of movies being over 40 years old now, you would think there's gonna be a much larger mass of people that are really into these movies, because why would they go back in like 2010 to make a sequel to the original Tron movie that came out in 1982 and then over a decade later do it again?
I thought it was going to be so niche and so nerdy because it was such an internet subculture for a really long time that I was going to be like, okay, that's a thing that exists. Because we've watched some movies where I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And then I have no desire to ever watch it again.
Yeah, you have no desire to go and seek out other content relating to it, whether they have sequels or not.
I said in that episode, if we weren't recording a podcast, I would have immediately hit play on Tron Legacy because we were watching it on Disney Plus, and it immediately suggests that if I hadn't been doing a podcast, I would have watched 2 Tron movies in a row. But Trent, what are your dislikes from this category?
Okay, the first one is probably the most obvious one because it is such a huge movie. I was not impressed with Saving Private Ryan.
Interesting.
One of these huge Steven Spielberg war epics that everybody puts at the top of their list when it comes to like war movies or just movies in general. Now, I'll say, the opening sequence, Omaha Beach, D-Day, big war epic battle, that stuff is so goddamn impressive that I can understand why that is up there in the upper echelons of just movie sequences of all time. But the rest of it, though, because I'm so distracted by all of the cameos that are showing up here, and unfortunately, it's because I've gotten to know some of the names that are appearing later on, like fucking Vin Diesel is in Saving Private Ryan, for fuck's sake.
And you find that distracting.
I do. Now, is that a bad movie? Absolutely not. I cannot put it up there with all of the other big war epics that I've seen and we've covered.
And that's the nature of this question. You were surprised that you didn't like Saving Private Ryan. You thought you would love it. You thought by its reputation, it would be something that you're like super, super into, and you just kind of weren't.
Yeah, and what we learned is that we should probably watch Band of Brothers instead, but we really have no place to put that. But my next one, Betsy, is one that I still look back on and think, man, should we watch that movie again and maybe we could have a different reaction? My next one is The Nice Guys. Fucking Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe having themselves a grand old time on screen. And the best part of that movie are when those two guys are on screen. The rest of it, though, I could take it or leave it.
I also have The Nice Guys in this question because I wanted to love it. It looked so fun and it starts in a promising way, but the core plot points of the story just sort of don't fit for me for what the movie is the rest of the time. And I'm just like, I don't understand this. And I thought it was going to be great, and I just couldn't get on board. And I was so disappointed because I want to love The Nice Guys.
Yeah, I want to love these two fucking goobers, and I am having a good time when they are on screen. Do not get me wrong here, but it's just one of these movies that I could not get into, much like my final selection here, Mystery Men. Now, there are a lot of people, especially those people who are like comedians, who love Mystery Men. For some reason, I just thought it was fucking dumb and not in a good way.
It's one of those, it's funny to the people on the inside, but people on the outside, it's like, huh?
Uh-huh. It's very much a movie that should have been left in the 90s, and people should not revisit it. That's my opinion. You can like it if you like it. But Betsy, what are your surprising that you disliked?
Honestly, Trent, I am one of those people, and I've said this many times, I'm a very generous movie watcher.
You are.
I will usually give things a lot of tries, and even the ones I'm going to mention here, I would go back to. I don't think
They're
I
not
would.
hot garbage.
No, they're not hot garbage. I wouldn't even bring those up. You want to find out what those are? Go listen to our year-end specials where I just flat out say I'm not watching that movie again.
Yes.
Because I mean it. No, the only other one I wrote down, I really only wrote down two.
Okay.
So I wrote down The Nice Guys. The other one was Predator, because we didn't do this right away. We did it a little ways into doing the podcast, and we had already done like Demolition Man and Tango and Cash.
Yes, some of these classic action movies.
Stupid action movies. And I had so much fun watching those other ones. And we were just like, yeah, let's do another one. Let's do Predator because it's fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a legendary movie. And I don't know what it was about Predator. I just didn't get it. And so I was just like, why don't I love this movie? I'm so confused.
Maybe too much testosterone in that movie.
I don't know what it is, Trent. Maybe someday I'll go back to it. Maybe I'll get it. But just having seen it the one time, again, by the nature of this category, I was very surprised that even though I had set myself up for success to like it, I just kind of didn't. And that's sort of shocking to me.
All right. Well, let's now move on to our next question. Betsy, I'm really curious what you're going to say about this one. What is a movie or series of movies that we have already watched outside of this podcast that we had already seen that you would have loved to do an episode for?
You and I have referenced this many times. The things we wish we could get in a time machine, go back and stop ourselves from watching. Because this is what we basically do when we watch movies. We sit and talk about it afterwards. We break it down. We just have these discussions. And that's why it was kind of a natural thing for us to say, put a microphone down, start the podcast.
It is the genesis of why we are recording what we're recording.
And there are so many movies that when you and I started dating, I wanted to introduce you to. I'm like, hey, You might like this movie. You might like that movie. And some of them have gone on to become movies you love, like Margin Call and Thank You for Smoking.
Yep.
So when I hit hard.
Yeah.
But we already did it before we ever had a podcast. So
now,
we
some of those,
yes,
we got over to our Patreon
we found
page.
a way. We found a loophole.
Yeah, we got the Never Seen It Movie Club. If you do not know, it is a show on our Patreon where we talk about our favorite movies of all time that maybe a lot of other people are not aware of, or they're just not as popular as, Star Wars.
But it's stuff that you and I love as a couple,
Yes.
as individuals, or stuff that I've introduced you to and vice versa.
Yes.
So some of those movies would be the answer, but because we've actually found a loophole and we have talked about those, I'm not going to have those as my answer. But it's those things where I'm just like, oh, damn it. I wish I hadn't made you watch that movie. I have two answers to this. One, Mean Girls.
Oh, shit.
You had not
Yeah.
seen Mean Girls until about 6 years ago. And I had done this right before. I think we did it the year before we started the podcast.
I think you're right.
And I'm so mad because I would love for people to hear your genuine first time reaction to Mean Girls for posterity. Because even I don't quite remember what it was.
I remember really liking it, though.
Yeah, you really enjoyed it. It's a classic for a reason. My second one, and this is maybe the most important one, the Before trilogy. I got you to watch Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight. And I even did what we do in these episodes, where I said, what do you remember from the first one? What do you think's going to happen? And you had such a great reaction between the movies because it never occurred to you that things could just work out sometimes.
Yeah, you kind of did a debriefing on me between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, asking, okay, this is where the couple is before they go into the next entry. What do you think the status of the relationship is? Is there a relationship? What have they been doing? How much of a time jump is there going to be? Is there a time jump? What do you think is going to happen?
The movies intentionally end with question marks.
Yeah.
They're the kind of movies that are primed for a show like we do. And I'm so upset.
100%, yeah.
I'm so upset that people don't get to hear what you thought.
Because I already know.
Because you already knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do it now. It's over. You've seen them.
I will say, Betsy, that is also on my list,
Okay.
the Before trilogy, because we had such a great conversation in between watching all those movies. Again, it's kind of a proof of concept that we even had that conversation that, you know what, we told ourselves, you know what, this whole podcast thing, it could work. We could have this same kind of conversation and share it with all of you fine folks. But you said that was all of yours, Betsy? You had
That's
two?
all mine, yeah.
Okay, I have two more. The first one is also kind of the genesis of this entire endeavor. It is all of the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, God, yeah.
Do you remember, Betsy, at the end of every single movie, you sat me down and asked me what I thought of that particular Harry Potter movie. And I had a long diatribe about all the stupid bullshit that I had in my own mind. And I think it would have made for some excellent content.
I believe you used the phrase Dumbledore should go to jail or something.
Basically, the entire staff
All
of
the staff should be
Hogwarts
fired.
should be in prison for endangering all of these young people.
I don't remember your exact words. I just know it was just a long rant about how these teachers are endangering children and they should all be in jail.
Yeah. And that would have continued over the fucking 8 movies that there are in that series.
It's a lot of movies.
It is. And really, that would have opened the door to watch all of the other, extended universe movies that I could shit on because I don't hate the Harry Potter movies. I do not hate the concept. I hate the writer of the books, but that's a separate conversation. But watching these movies for the first time was an entertaining process just because I did it with you and because of what we did after the fact. But anyway, I did say that I had a third one here, and it's just kind of related to the fact that we're currently in the process of rewatching one of the movies right now as we record this. I just wish that I could have introduced you to the Blade trilogy of movies on this podcast. Because guys, I don't know if you know this, but I love the Blade series. Number 1 is fantastic. Number 2 is better than what you expect it to be. Guillermo del Toro fucking directed that movie. And Blade Trinity is kind of fun, but pretty bad nonetheless.
It is also there.
Yeah, but I wish I could have introduced you to this series of movies just to have your reaction to it.
Because I had seen Blade, but I hadn't seen 2 and 3 when you and I started dating.
Yeah.
So that would have been one of those exceptions where we would have just done Blade.
Of course.
Because I hadn't seen it in
Blade.
years.
Yeah.
I have watched Blade so many times since we have been dating or married.
Literally. If I went to my Apple TV right now, we are about halfway in, or a little bit over halfway in.
And this is probably the 5th time that we have watched this, if not more. We have watched it a lot of times in the 10 plus years we've been together.
I wish they would come out with a 4K disc of Blade 2. I don't care about the third one. I just want Blade 2. Anyway, Betsy, what's our next question?
All right, Trent, which actor or filmmaker have you discovered through this show that you have a newfound appreciation for?
So they're not new actors. I couldn't really think of anybody off the top of my head that were kind of new actors that were introduced to me, but the actors I'm going to talk about here are folks that were known to me, but I've just grown to appreciate their work a lot more. First of all, I'm just going to say the earlier works of Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
Sure.
Specifically, the 1970s movies that we have been watching for our various shows over the years. Holy shit, am I impressed with their earlier work. And it's really disappointing to me that they both kind of got pigeonholed into doing the same kinds of roles over and over again. When we'd watch Taxi Driver, I was very impressed with Robert De Niro. And around the same time, we watched Dog Day Afternoon, and I remember saying during that episode, it might be one of the greatest acting performances I have ever seen in a movie. And unsurprisingly, I think Al Pacino as an actor has appeared in more episodes of this show than any other actor in existence.
We are closing in on like 10.
At
if
least.
not beyond 10. I know we have covered a lot of Al Pacino.
Yeah. The other one, this is my last one, is just having more of an appreciation for Paul Giamatti and just having the opportunity to talk about the man. Even some of his lesser known movies, like when we covered the movie Private Life, he is more subdued in that movie, but it just impresses me even more that he can keep it contained, but keep the acting prowess going. Like he is very much a presence in that entire movie.
You think of him as manic, but he's not always manic. And in that one, it's very subdued.
And I think just a year or two ago, we also covered The Holdovers, which is a movie that he got nominated for. And I was really pulling for him. I knew he wasn't going to win.
He got close, though.
He did. And yeah, I appreciate Paul Giamatti that much more because we get to see more of his work. And I guess one other one that we had covered was American Splendor, which is a movie that I don't think either of us had really heard about. But when we were doing our Decade series that year, we just came across it like, hey, this looks really interesting. It's starring Paul Giamatti. Let's watch it. And he was just as impressive in that movie than he is in any movie. So yeah, Paul Giamatti.
Well, while you were talking, I suddenly realized somebody that I hadn't written down, and I'm going to go with a different Paul, and that's Paul Dano. Because I think we both liked Paul Dano before we started the podcast, but then we watched things like Prisoners and Looper and Swiss Army Man.
Yeah.
And I had not really spent that much time thinking about him as an actor. And then he's just sort of shown up a few times where I did not know he was in some of the movies we were going to watch. And I'm just like, ooh, Paul Dano's in this? I love him.
Yeah.
And I'm on my eternal crusade that people know his name is pronounced Dano, Day, not Dano. I've heard him say this. This is my quest, though. I want people to know this. So like a few months ago when the internet blew up because Tarantino put his foot in his mouth and everybody was like, we love him. I was like, yeah, we do love him.
Yeah.
I was glad everybody else was on our side.
Yeah, you're right, Betsy. I think Paul Dano really belongs in our generation's groupings of greatest actors right now. Because thinking about the other movies that we had seen outside of the podcast, like he really got his start with that Little Miss Sunshine movie. Obviously, he is a big part of There Will Be Blood. You had also forgotten that he was in The Batman.
Yeah. Well, part of it is because he's wearing a mask half the time.
Still?
But yeah, we have gotten to see him show up in these movies and really give us a lot of range. And especially in like Prisoners. He is so good in that movie. It's insane. But I never really thought about him that much. And it took this podcast to really solidify I really like him as an actor.
Agreed.
Relating to Prisoners, Denis Villeneuve. Before we started this podcast, we had seen Arrival. So I knew who he was. I had seen one of his movies. But we have since watched every single other movie save like one.
Yeah. Like Incendies is the last one.
Yeah, we
on
haven't
his
done
list.
the earliest one. But we didn't intend to watch Dune. We didn't really expect that was going to be something for us. And then it was the early days again of the podcast. It was on HBO. We were still in the pandemic era, kind of.
Yeah.
We had been hearing it was really good, and so we watched it. And now we are like Denny converts. We are going to go and see anything that guy puts out because he's batting 1,000. Every single one of his movies has been great. Even the one that I didn't get right away, it was still a great movie. It's just how I feel about it. That's a different conversation.
Yeah. Thinking about the stuff that we have covered of his, fucking Sicario is a good ass movie. Blade Runner 2049 is another one of these movies that just looks cool as hell. And as we have said, Denis Villeneuve is batting 1,000 with us. We have not had one stinker in the entire bunch. And that just makes us that much more excited for Dune Part 3.
And the last one I'll mention here, John Carpenter. Okay, we have had some really bizarro Carpenter. That's where we kind of started. And now we have graduated to more like Halloween and The Thing. We've been getting into the real meat and potatoes of his body of work. And I'm like, okay, I'm interested. You've gotten me through the door. I want to see more of the John Carpenter stuff.
Yeah, we had even watched a movie. We didn't do it for the podcast, but we watched Assault on Precinct 13. I think last year we were going to guest on another podcast. And even in his really early days, you could see the genius that was there. And if nothing else, just listen to the fucking soundtrack of Assault on Precinct 13. You will thank me later. For our next question, this is a very broad question because there are a lot of things that you can choose from. Betsy, what is your favorite one-off series of movies that we have covered? And I had written down some examples here for both you and our audience just to remember. We've done the Fast and Furious. We did all the Twilights. We did a weird movie series. We did a video game series, Hackers, Indiana Jones, movies starring a whole bunch of ladies, something called Time Foolery, and Western Wednesday, amongst a whole lot of other one-off series that we did. Betsy, what are your favorites?
I'm giving an honorable mention simply because I came up with a dumb name and you let me go through with it. When we did Hanksgiving.
Yeah.
We did Tom Hanks movies the entire month of November a few years ago, and that just tickled me pink.
Just the name. Just the name is
just
enough.
Just the name. In the same vein, Jeff Tember. Last year, I truly thought Jeff Tember ended up being one of the best series of movies for the content of what we were watching, because there were some movies there that I had on my watch list for fucking ever. Speaking of John Carpenter, we did Starman.
Yeah.
He didn't write it, but he directed it, and I was really surprised by that. But yeah, we did that. We did The Last Picture Show. Even though I had seen Crazy Heart, I got to rewatch it, and I had such a deeper appreciation for it on this viewing. So yeah, just by the time we were done with that series, I was really glad we did it because I had a newfound appreciation for Jeff Bridges and the movies we covered.
You could have included Jeff Bridges in your actor that you have an appreciation for now.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to make it like really super long, but I did write his name down.
Okay.
But I think you gotta go with the OG, the Fast Saga. It was where we kind of loosened up and were able to just have fun watching the movies.
We were able to react to those movies more than just analyze them and regurgitate what the fuck happened.
And they're so insane, and we had never watched them. Like, you had seen up to 5?
I had seen 1 through 5.
I thought I had seen 1 and 2, and then we were watching 2, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen this movie. I have no recollection of this. So I basically was experiencing the entire series for the first time ever, and they are fucking insane. They are the most insane movies I think I've ever watched in my life. And the next one is more crazy than the last one. They keep trying to outdo themselves, and it's absurd. You should definitely watch these movies because trying to explain how we go from stealing VCRs to outer space, like you can't explain that to people. You must experience it.
Yeah.
And you can hear our real life, real time reaction to that experience with each other. But Trent, what is your answer to this question?
Well, I'll just piggyback off of yours because I also included the Fast Saga.
You have to.
Man, we had such a good time watching those. Also, we did a ranking special at the end of that entire endeavor because, hey, how can you not go back and rank the entirety of the saga? By the way, Fast 5 is still the best movie. Fight me. Fucking fight me. Fast 5 is the greatest. But yeah, I actually had quite a few on this list. Of course, Fast and Furious, plus our little detour that we already kind of talked about when we covered Drive.
The series within the series.
Yeah.
It was cheeky. I liked that we found a way to keep it sort of related to what we were doing. We basically took themes from within what we had watched already. Like we did Ocean's 11 because the fifth Fast and Furious movie is a heist movie. So we watched a heist movie and we tied it together like that. We did Triple X because Vin Diesel made other
Cars.
movies.
Yeah, it's an action movie. Also included in there was Smokey and the Bandit. And that could have even been included in my list of movies that I was impressed that I even liked because, yeah, that movie is incredible. My next series that I wanted to mention was the Indiana Jones series of movies because I had seen the first one only once and only because you had shown it to me. I could see the entire roller coaster of quality as we went through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and yes, 5.
Eventually 5, because we did it before a fifth one was even on the books.
I know.
So we then had to go back and complete the series.
My next selection was when we did our weird movie series because that's when I got to experience being John Malkovich and The Lobster and Under the Skin. And maybe my favorite out of the bunch, Swiss Army Man.
If memory serves, that was our favorite first time watch that entire year.
That might have been.
Or we were both, it was in our top 3.
I don't remember. It's been too long, Betsy. But yeah, we should do another weird movie series. That was fun.
There's a lot of weird movies out there.
I just love our reactions. Just re-listening to those episodes again, we were just dumbfounded. And even that Malkovich episode, I think I even mentioned that at the end of that year as well, like movie that I was most surprised by. I don't remember. But yeah, it was a good series. The next two are kind of intertwined in a weird way. I really liked doing the Twilight series, not because the movies are great, but I had a great time shit talking those movies. Along with, it wasn't a series, but we covered all of the 50 Shades movies.
We split them up because we did one and then later we did the series again and said, well, obviously we got to finish now.
Yeah, we did a Smutty Sunday series early on when we covered the first 50 Shades. But you can't just do one, you got to do the rest. So the next year we did the other two back to back.
We were in too deep. We had to finish.
But yes, I very much enjoyed just talking about those movies because yes, they are trashy bullshit, but I don't care. I had a great time with you, Betsy. But that's all I had. Betsy, what's our next question?
Well, the opposite side of this is sometimes we have series that we have done again and again, ones that we revisit. So what is your favorite recurring series that we've done?
Yeah, some of the examples here are every October we do Never Scream It. It wasn't always called Never Scream It. The first year we didn't have a snappy name for it like Betsy thought of. Every year we do our Decade series where we cover one movie 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and on back to the 60s. Of course, we've already mentioned Smutty Sunday when we do our actor series / director series, Big Movie May, and it goes on and on. I chose 2 out of this group, Betsy, because they are the most unique to us. I really enjoy our Decade series, not only because, hey, we get to go back and maybe cover some classic movies that we wouldn't think to really cover, but also we get to do research. we go back to these years and we look at an entire list of movies that came out that year. And sometimes it's obvious, like when we covered E.T., of course we're going to cover E.T.
Or Mary Poppins.
Yeah. Or last year we did fucking Jaws. Come on.
But other years it's things like Footloose.
Yeah.
You know, they're varying degrees of what was popular at the time that we're talking, the year that we're talking about.
And the other selection is Never Scream It, because, hey, we have talked about it many, many times. We have likened ourselves to be people who are not really into horror, so we're forcing ourselves to really delve deep and find some movies that we've really, really enjoyed out of the Never Scream It series, to the point where we made an entire show on Patreon so that we could keep on watching them, not in October.
Yeah, I think we can officially say that we've cracked that nut, and we're kind of horror people now. I don't think we're
We're not aficionados anyway.
We're not quite there the way most people who love horror are, but we're not afraid of it the way we were when we started. We were really trying to find ways to do it. Now we're like hungry for it. We're always trying to find, oh, we should do this one, we should do this one. Every time we watch one more and we like it, we want to find more stuff like that to watch.
And when we do our Never Scream It 101 show on Patreon, you actually go back and research like what came before in a particular subgenre of horror and what came after.
Yeah, kind of, if you like this movie, you might also like.
Yeah, and even outside of just doing the Never Scream It stuff, when we have covered other horror movies like our Wayback Machine show will take us to a random year and we have to pick a movie that's in the theater at the time, some of them have been horror movies and we've loved them. So yeah, Never Scream It has very much introduced both of us to that entire genre of film, and we are better for it.
I think my answers are the same as you, Trent. I love doing Never Scream It. I love doing the Decades series. My favorite thing about the Decades series is there always seems to be some weird connection from one year to the next, some repeated themes, some repeated actor, and we never are doing it on purpose, but it always seems to happen every single time we do that series.
You're right. Some actor that is going from year to year or from movie to movie, really.
When we did all the twos, when we did 82 and 2002, the fucking kid who played Elliot in E.T. showed up in Gangs of New York. I didn't know he was in that movie, but all of a sudden I'm like, that's that fucking guy.
Yeah.
Every year we find some through line that we didn't expect. And it's just this little Easter egg that we have given ourselves. And I love it.
Yeah. Well, moving on to our next question, Betsy. This is a simple one, but you can take it a lot of different ways. What are the episodes that you are most proud of?
That's a lot harder question to answer without going back and re-listening to a lot of episodes. But there is one that I have listened to a couple of times because I don't listen to it regularly. I don't just like pick one up and say, hey, I'm going to listen to that today as often as you do. But I really enjoy our Tron episode.
Yeah, I kind of figured this was going to be yours because you have mentioned in the past, like, you really liked our conversation about Tron and the technology involved. And yeah,
I think it really played to our strong suits of what you and I both know individually, because you know about computers, you know about video games, you know about the kind of technology that is being touched on in the movie. And I know movies. So we're sitting there watching it and we're like, I'm getting vibes of Star Wars. I'm getting vibes of The Wizard of Oz. And we're just finding these little parallels and pockets of conversation to have about this cheesy 80s movie. And I think it's a good one. And I think that if I was going to recommend one episode, it would probably be that one.
Well, I've got one and a few more after that. The one that I would say is kind of the quintessential Never Seen It episode, because it's an episode that we did not plan on doing. It was not a part of a series. We had actually planned on doing a different episode that night, but I don't know. I just got a vibe where I wasn't in the mood to watch that particular movie. So instead I said, why don't we watch Network instead?
Yep. I kind of wondered if this was going to come up in the conversation.
And yeah, if you haven't seen the movie Network, you absolutely should. You owe it to yourself to watch the movie. But the reason I say it's kind of a quintessential Never Seen It episode is because it is a matter of discovery. We are discovering, oh my God, this movie that we are watching for the first time might be one of our favorite movies of all time and we didn't even know it.
And you can hear us realize all of our misconceptions, what we thought network was, and discovering what it actually is, and how relevant it is today.
It is playing on some stuff that I'm really interested in when it comes to, the media and journalism and politics. There's all sorts of different nuggets that I'm pulling out of network and just realizing, oh my God, whoever wrote this, whoever made this movie is a fucking genius. And I cannot believe it is not more talked about today. But that one's probably my number one answer to this question. The rest of them are just fun episodes to listen to, and a couple of these are actually on our Patreon, so I highly recommend that you go sign up. The one I'm going to say next is Escape to Witch Mountain.
Okay.
That came from the Wayback Machine.
Listen, I did write this down, but because we're talking about the main show, I was reserving the Patreon for a separate conversation. But yes, if you want to hear us laugh until we cry, that is the episode.
Quite literally.
If you want to hear us just straight up crying and getting in our feelings, there's another episode over there where we talk about the Elephant Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you want some very real emotions coming from some very real places at the opposite ends of the spectrum, those are the two episodes for you.
Yeah, and I will also mention in there, The Omen is another one of those discovery kinds of episodes where holy shit, this movie is amazing. And my last one, I've already kind of mentioned, but the entire Twilight series is worth going back and listening to because, man, are we having a good time shitting on those movies. But Betsy, what do we got next?
Well, Trent, being that this is a podcast about movies we haven't seen yet, there's a lot of movies that we still have never watched. And as I keep saying, there's one rule. It has to be new to one of us. Now, I am the movie buff between the two of us. I have spent many, many years watching movies before I ever met you. So my list is much shorter, but it's not non-existent. There are still a lot of really big movies that I haven't seen, but there's a lot more that you haven't seen. And we are constantly trying to find ways to work movies in. Do we do a series? How do we get that in here? Do we just knock out the entire series of movies? So what are some movies that you are kind of surprised we still in 5 years have not worked into the show?
This is actually the one and only thing that I wrote down for this question because I think it's big enough that, I'm really surprised we haven't dipped our toe into it yet. That is the Alien series of movies because I have only ever watched the first Alien once with you, but the rest of them are a complete blind spot. And I know there's some stinkers out there. The fans of the Alien series are going to come after me for even suggesting that there are other movies other than 1 and 2. But I don't care. I'm very interested in watching the rest of them. And I think eventually we should still do it.
So most of the ones I wrote down are movies I would like for you to see, which is, again, what I was going back to. How have we not done this yet? How have we not found a way? The first one, I know why we haven't done it, just because it's kind of the same problem with Alien. At this point, it's too big, and we cannot spend that much time doing it.
Oh, God.
It's the Mission Impossible series.
Oh, yeah.
So Trent has seen exactly one Mission Impossible movie, and it ain't the first one.
Okay, to be fair, I have seen some of the first one, but I have seen all of number 2 many times.
And that's where your viewing stopped.
Yeah.
So you have not seen anything 3 and beyond. I have seen 1, 2, and 3, and I have not seen anything beyond that. So this is definitely something we keep trying to figure it out, but it's 8, 9 movies. It's so many movies.
We used to have a show on Patreon that we called Box Set. That would have been a perfect place for that, but because there's 8, 9 movies, it would take almost an entire year to get through them all.
So it's either a year on Patreon or 3 months on the main show. And that is a lot of Tom Cruise.
Yes.
So someday we're going to figure it out because I definitely want to watch these movies. I definitely would like your first time experience because they do change. Kind of in the way the Fast and Furious movies change hands and you get a different perspective from different directors. It's the same thing. They are very different when you have Brian De Palma directing Mission Impossible, and then you have John Woo doing Mission Impossible. And then you get to like the modern day ones. They are very, very far and away different from the beginning. So that's definitely something together that we haven't done, and I'm still surprised because it fell within the realm of us having a podcast. Tenet. We have not watched Tenet. We love Christopher Nolan's movies. We have seen all of them except this one, and it's because of when it came out, his insistence on putting it in the theater. We didn't want to watch it on our dinky screen. Now that's the only choice we have. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just really surprised we haven't done it yet.
I don't know, Betsy. We might have a place for that coming up soon, so put a pin in that one. But our penultimate question here before we get to our big announcements, Betsy, what movie or movies have we covered for the show that we have revisited the most? Now, I will put a caveat on this. Believe it or not, we don't rewatch a whole lot of movies that we do for this show. When we watch movies not for the podcast, for the most part, there are movies that we have seen a million times. Like I already said, we're watching Blade right now. It's the movie that we put on while we're eating dinner.
The comfort watches, the things you can start and stop and you don't have to be invested in.
Exactly. But there are a few movies here, Betsy, that I know you have written down here that I have put on or you have put on or we have put on that we have covered for the show for the first time that we actually revisit. What's on your list?
So going way back to the beginning of the show, I believe it was our second episode where we did Promising Young Woman.
Yep.
I believe I have seen this movie 3 times now and twice in the last year and a half, which for me is a lot of times.
Yeah, and part of that was we guessed it on another podcast where we actually covered that movie again.
But I actually have a desire to rewatch that movie. Every time I have watched it, I have liked it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one that I see myself visiting again and again. Okay, one that is an obvious answer because it's seasonal, Violent Night.
Yeah, that's on my list too.
We have watched Violent Night every Christmas Eve since we have owned it. We saw it in the theater in 2022, and we have watched it on Christmas Eve.
We bought it right after it came out on 4K. We watch it every single year, and we cannot wait for Violent Night 2.
We are going to be there in the theater. We are those people. But the one that we have watched the most, and I think this is hands down the one we have done the most times.
I don't actually know what you're going to say here.
Palm Springs. We have watched Palm Springs a lot of times. I think I've seen that movie about 4 or 5 times, which is a lot compared to most of these.
You're right. I'm kind of racking my brain here to think how many times we've actually seen the movie. I feel like we've probably seen the movie. It's one of those hotel movies that we mentioned where we can just throw it on or we can hop into the middle of it and still have a good time. But yeah, now that you're mentioning it, it happened in the first year of the podcast. It was one of those COVID movies that came out on Hulu. And yeah, it's just one of these movies you could just throw on and have a good time.
I am glad to hear that it has been discovered by a lot more people than you might imagine.
Yeah.
Because putting it out on Hulu in 2020, it probably would have just rotted there. But because everybody had nothing else to do, everybody actually discovered it and love it. So if you haven't already watched Palm Springs, my God, please watch it. It's so good.
Okay. The only other movie that I had on my list, I only had 2. One of them was Violent Night, and the other one we covered for our Oscar series just over a year ago. And that, my friends, is the movie Conclave, a movie that I never expected to love as much as I do. It is a movie about fucking cardinals choosing a new pope. That is not a movie for me, but it absolutely is.
And friends, if you want to hear a wife be right about her husband, go back and listen to the Conclave episode in which I say something to the effect of, I'm going to come home and you will be watching Conclave within the next 6 months. We were flying to New York last year and they had it as one of the in-flight movies and Trent watched Conclave on his phone. I came home 2 weeks before that or after that and you were watching it again. You watched it twice in a month.
Uh-huh.
And you watched it not 3 weeks ago from the time of this recording.
Yeah, since we had watched it for the first time, I think I've seen Conclave 4 times.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I know my husband. I said it in that episode, and I was not wrong. I could have just answered that question for you because I knew what you were going to say. All right, listeners, I promise we don't have that many more questions left, but we're just having a good time reminiscing about the last 5 years. And as we keep saying, it's a lot of content.
It really
so
is.
Bear with us. But Trent, is there a movie that you will never agree to do on the podcast? Is there something that is so not your jam, unreasonable? No, you draw the line in the sand. We're not talking about that movie.
Betsy, I don't think that you've actually seen this movie, but this is the famous movie that is the only movie I have ever walked out of. It's only ever happened once, but that movie is The Benchwarmers, a movie that came out in the early to mid 2000s starring David Spade and Rob Schneider, John Heder, John Lovitz, and a whole bunch of those old SNL alums or like friends of Adam Sandler. The movie is goddamn horseshit, and I cannot believe that I gave any of my money, even though I only went to the cheap theater to see it. I paid the $3 to get into the theater, and I walked out with one of my friends who was there with me. That movie is god awful, and no one should ever see it or be subjected to listening to other people talk about it.
Well, it would qualify for the podcast because I haven't seen it, but you love me too much to do that to me.
I would not subject that movie to my worst enemy. It sucks.
I went a little bit of a different direction with this one. It is one I haven't seen. It is one you haven't seen. It is of a genre that we have been mentioning a few times in the world of horror.
Okay.
But I don't think I can handle the human centipede. I don't think I'm interested in that kind of a movie.
See, that's the thing. I think we had mentioned or we were asked about that movie at one point in our pantheon of recordings. I don't think I know what it is, and I don't need to.
I do know what it is, and I don't think I want to see that.
Fair enough. Well, that actually brings us to our final question, Betsy. You know, we've been doing this now for 5 years, and part of these 5 years is us learning the ropes and learning what we're good at, what we're not so good at, maybe doing things a little bit differently. But what are some of your biggest regrets when it comes to this podcast? It could be the movie selections that we've done. It could be how we've recorded. It could be the amount of time that we spend on episodes or the amount of time that we don't spend on episodes. What are your biggest regrets?
You know, even though 2 episodes a week was insane and a lot, I don't think I actually regret doing that because of the number of movies I got to watch and experience.
Sure.
So I don't think that was one.
It also gave us the practice too,
Yes.
because we were very new and we just had to keep on doing it. How do you get better at something? You fucking do it.
So most of the things I would say that came out of that were positive. I would say my regrets are our lack of planning. Like, we didn't have music, like, at all for several years on this show. I would say my biggest one is the social media element because we didn't really lean into having a Facebook page or a Twitter page. Half of that stuff didn't exist. Some of it we only just got.
I mean, for fuck's sake, last year we had almost 1 million people watch one of the reels on Instagram, and that was for the Tron Legacy thing. Holy fuck. I am still fucking blown away at the amount of people that came out of the woodwork to look at that fucking Instagram reel. Wow.
And then actually listen to the episode as a result.
Right.
So yeah, the kind of planning that is actually required to effectively market yourself, that is not my strong suit. I am the media manager. I'm the social media manager. And I don't know who put this idiot in charge because she doesn't know what she's doing. She is making this up as she goes along.
Yeah, Betsy, we do not belong on TikTok and YouTube, but guess what? That's where we are.
But it's mostly the fact that we didn't do it right away. We didn't put a coordinated effort. We have just kind of been winging this whole thing because we do this for fun. We really do. But we would like people to listen to it. And that's the kind of stuff that is sort of required to build an audience and get people to actually know that you exist.
Yeah, organic growth for a podcast doesn't really exist. Unless you already have a name behind you, just having people find you and recommend you to their friends, it works to a point, but not in the real world. And yeah, that's kind of my regrets as well. The stuff I wrote down, you already kind of mentioned some of it. Number one, I regret that we didn't call the show something else. because there's how many never seen it shows out there. Come on.
Again, a reflection of a lack of planning.
Yeah.
But then once you've done it for so long, how do you rebrand?
How do you change? Yeah.
What do you possibly change it to that isn't also taken?
Exactly. Early on, Betsy, I did toy with the idea, okay, why don't we end the show, start up a brand new feed, call the podcast something else, and we can come in with fresh eyes and better voices. We know what the hell we're doing. Let's just start over. But no, we have all of our episodes still out there. Episode 1, The Trial of the Chicago 7, will forever be the worst episode we've ever done because it's our first one and it sounds like shit.
It sounds like shit. We don't know how to talk to each other. It is really low energy. Listening to our first episodes it's painful.
That's the next stuff on my list here. I regret that we did not go out and buy really good equipment. Literally, I'm looking at the first microphone. It's on the shelf over there. It's the first microphone I ever bought. I bought you the microphone for your birthday the year before we started the podcast. It was April of 2020 when COVID was ravaging everywhere. I bought you the microphone with the intention of starting a podcast. It's just one of those fucking Blue Yeti mics. We sat it in the center of this table that I'm sitting at right now, and we both talked into the same microphone.
Now, to be fair, we did have 2 microphones, but we didn't have the right kind of setup, and it only worked for like 1 episode.
It didn't actually work.
And yeah, so it's just, we never could figure out how to have 2 microphones with that very primitive setup at the beginning.
Yeah, we finally spent some money here. We got some theme music to put at the beginning and the end of the show.
I can make my voice sound like this sometimes, and it's funny, it makes Betsy laugh.
But really, it's just fun to do sometimes. But I just wish that I really spent the time to not only have better equipment, but really spend the time to work on my editing. Because early on, all I ever did was get rid of some of the really long pauses that we had because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. Like, you're listening to this right now, and I have gone over this episode with a fine-tooth comb to make it sound, as good as I possibly can make it. Because if you ever heard the unedited... Because if you ever heard the unedited version of the recordings that we do, you would not listen to us.
I dare you to leave the last 15 seconds. I dare you to leave the... I know we're in the future now and you edited out what just happened, but I dare you to leave it in for the people to hear.
Oh, Jesus. I think I would die of embarrassment.
But it's good to know that if we ever decide to scorch the earth and just start again, we'll be in a much better position. That is not the announcement at the end of this episode, by the way.
Not at all. I mean, fuck, man. If we did that, if we but if we scrapped the show and did something completely different and just said, hey, go find us over here. We're going to start over here with a new name, a new concept, new everything. Man, I don't know how I could do that. I wouldn't know how to start the show. But then again, we have 5 other shows on another platform that we start the show with differently every time. But anyway, I have the same kind of regrets as you when it comes to the social media stuff and, not doing the Patreon. But the reason why we didn't do the Patreon is because we were burnt out. We already were doing 2 episodes a week. How could we possibly do any more?
So we just eliminated a main show and put it over on Patreon instead.
Yeah, and as we've said about the Patreon, that's just us experimenting. Like, we cover movies that we've already watched before, we have the conversation pit, and we do some other weirder stuff, like we have a fucking commentary track over a movie that we really like. And we have some other fun stuff that we just throw in, like the stuff that I've edited out of the podcast. I've put that up. I've put up our mic test footage that I recorded back in the day when we were using the other microphone. Now we don't really need to do mic tests anymore because this interface actually works pretty damn well. But yes, the regrets all have to do with the stuff in the past. The stuff I really can't do anything about anymore. I have toyed with the idea of going back and re-editing all of the old episodes because I have the raw audio of every single thing that I've ever done.
You would drive yourself insane.
I would need to quit my job and only do this.
If you didn't do it when you didn't have a job, do you
I
think
know.
you're going to do it when you do?
I barely like to edit the episodes that we currently do. You know how long this episode's going to be? Really fucking long. Because, guys, I don't know if you know this, we're at the end of our questions, and now come the announcements.
Yeah, so we've talked at length now about the last 5 years, what we've liked, what we haven't liked, what we regret. And now it's time to talk about the future. As I said, we're not slashing and burning. We're not starting the show from scratch. We're not starting a new show. We're not ending this show. However, we are now in our 40s, and we like to do things outside of the podcast. And if you've been paying attention, we have not missed a week.
Never.
Not one in 5 years, because Trent has it in his head that if we ever stop, we will never, ever start again. And I've pointed out to him, even if we stop doing the main show for a little while, we still will be putting things out on Patreon. And this is our hobby now. We've committed to the bit. We're not going to stop podcasting. However, I think I finally convinced him that it might be okay to step away once in a while when we're feeling particularly stretched thin, when we're going on vacation, when we're trying to do episodes ahead of time because we know we're going to be gone. It really bottlenecks the entire process.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to convince Trent that it's okay to not do episodes sometimes.
Yes. So, as I've said, our upcoming Big Movie May will be the biggest series we have ever done for this show. It'll start off with our 400th movie and go the entire length of the month of May. After May is, I think, when we're going to start. I'm just going to say that now. I think June, we're going to take a small break. However, you're still going to get content, and for those of you who are on Patreon, you're going to continue to get brand new content from us over there. It's just going to be a break from this show. But what I haven't told Betsy yet is that for the month of June, when we're not going to be doing episodes, I'm going to put up some content from the first year of our Patreon every single week for those of you who are not currently patrons so that you can get a taste of what you're missing out on Patreon.
And there's still going to be episodes going into your feed every single week.
Yeah, and now that we've been doing this now for 5 years, there are some rules that we've talked about over the years that we put on ourselves, like, hey, we're not going to cover a movie that we've seen before. We've already broken that rule a few times that we've already talked about here. But we do have another rule here that we didn't really talk about all that much. And that rule is that we're not going to see a brand new movie and not do an episode for it.
Now, that is something we did have very hard and fast the first few years. Like, if we're going to a movie, if we're going to do a new one, we're going to do an episode. Part of that was because we had 2 episodes a week. But ironically, starting a movie podcast has resulted in us going to fewer movies at the theater.
Right.
Because doing this kind of format, we have to record before we leave, we have to go to the movie, we have to rush home, and we cannot talk to each other in the car.
Right.
Because we don't want to cannibalize the content. And it always makes it a little bit complicated. We don't mind doing it, but doing it a lot is tricky. And last year, there were a few movies where we're like, you know what? We just want to go to these movies. Because I reminded you once again, we can just go to movies. We don't have to do an episode about it.
Yeah, like we went to see the movie Friendship, and I told myself, well, that's a comedy. We don't really like to cover comedies on this show. So yeah, let's break the rule. Let's go and see Friendship. But also, we were guesting on some other podcasts. As we mentioned before, we went on the Revisionist Almanac show last year and covered the year 1976 for the Oscars that year. So we had to watch a whole lot of 1976 movies. A lot of them we watched and didn't do content for. Now, do I regret that? Some of them.
In some cases, it would be nice to have those episodes.
Right.
But we didn't do it. It is what it is. We also are not a podcast that is about brand new movies. The whole point of our show is there's so much stuff that we have in the back catalog.
Mm-hmm.
We really don't need to be adding to the front load of what's new and what's hot. That's never been what we're about. It's not our main focus. It's not to say we're never, ever going to do a brand new movie. Sometimes it's irresistible and we want to be part of the conversation with everybody else.
I had already mentioned in this episode, I really want to go and see that new Dune movie at the end of the year. And by golly, we've already done the first two. We're gonna do it again.
Yeah, it seems weird to not do the third entry when we already have episodes for the other two.
Yeah.
But this weekend that we're recording this, Project Hail Mary comes out. I'd like to see that movie, but I'm also a busy person. Could we just go see it and not worry about recording? Because that would be great. So we're probably going to be pulling back from doing more episodes that are new, specifically the Oscar movies, because now that the Oscars are up to 10 nominees and we only do one new episode a week, that takes up almost, what did you say, 20% of our episodes?
So we do 50 episodes a year now because there are always two specials that we put out every year. There are 52 weeks in the year. So you take 10 Oscar-nominated movies out of the 50, that's 20% of the entire year that is dedicated to only Oscar-nominated movies. Now, there have also been years where we're just guessing. Last year, we guessed maybe Sorry Baby is going to be in the conversation come Oscar time. It didn't get nominated. I'm not saying I regret watching that movie, but it does burn a slot for us. So what do we do here, Betsy? Well, we have decided we are not going to be covering all 10 Oscar-nominated movies for Best Picture every year anymore.
I think it's inevitable something will get in there, but probably before we even have the earliest conversations that it could get nominated. Like last year we watched Sinners in July, and look what happened to that.
Yeah.
We didn't watch it because it was an Oscar nominee. It was just something that we covered. So it might happen that
it was big movie. We were doing it for our Decade series.
Yeah, we're going to do the Decade series again this year. Maybe the thing we watch is going to end up being a nominee. Whom's to say, Trent?
Whom's to say indeed. But that's kind of our big announcement when it comes to the Oscar-nominated movies. I will say, we will be doing an Oscar special because we still plan on watching all 10 nominees. We have been doing that much longer than we've even had this podcast. We're just not going to go out of our way to do an episode for every single one of those movies. So what does that mean, Betsy? It just means you're going to get more content from us when it comes to movies from the past.
We're going to finally check some more of those things off of our never-ending watch list of movies. Yeah. Maybe we'll do big movie some other month. I don't know which one. But it's not to say you're not going to be getting our thoughts on the Best Picture nominees and other movies, because this is maybe the biggest announcement. People have been asking us to do something pretty much since we started the podcast, and we have finally done it. We are now on Letterboxd. Finally. The only thing on there at the time of this recording is that we went and did all 10 Best Picture nominees from 2025. There's going to be 2 posts for each movie because we're sharing the account. You'll see Trent's review. You'll see my review. There is one other one because Trent could not help himself. He entered his very first Letterboxd review for The Goonies, which if you go back to that episode, he had some feelings about. So it's a very short and sweet review of that movie.
Very sweet.
And I think we will try to go back into the back catalog and revisit some of those episodes to get a sense of, wait, what did I think of this movie? So that we can give it a proper review on Letterboxd.
Yes, so we are going to go back and review. We are going to put in I can't believe I'm actually saying this into a microphone. We're going to go and review every single movie we have covered for Never Seen It on Letterboxd. We're going to write a review. We're going to put our ranking in there, and it's going to take a while. It is going to take a while for us to do that.
There is no deadline on this, guys.
No.
Do not expect this to be an overnight thing because it took long enough just to do the Best Pictures this year.
Yes, exactly. It is going to allow us to kind of flex our writing muscle a little bit and revisit and listen to our old episodes and really remind ourselves, geez, did I really hate the Goonies as much as I did? Oh, yeah. Yes, I did. Yes, I really did hate the fucking Goonies. So that's our big announcement when it comes to new stuff from us. You're not going to be lacking in things to consume from your friends that never seen it, guys. Letterboxd is a brand new platform to us, so we're still learning. One thing you will find out, though, when we log our reviews, we're going to be putting the date on which the episode premiered. So going all the way back to 2011 when we started this fucking show, that's when those reviews will be logged. And of course, in addition to the episodes that we have posted, we're also going to be putting up reviews of other movies that we watch. Betsy watches a whole lot of movies by herself that she's just going to go up and put reviews on because she can.
So again, it's going to be a little bit of experimentation while we figure out the platform because we're old, as we keep saying. And I am not the strongest writer in the world. I think already you will see mine are very small blurbs because I just wanted to get it done. You have much more meticulous, thought out things, but you are the writer of the group.
Yep.
I expect that from you. Maybe I'll get better at it. I'm a much better talker. Listen to the episodes if you want thoughts from me. Read the reviews if you want the way Trent does it. And of course, I suppose I should mention what it is. We're just on there under Never Seen It Pod.
Yep, Never
It's
Seen
not
It Pod.
complicated. So go find that, follow us, like our reviews. I don't really know how it works, Trent.
I don't know how the fucking platform works. You think I know yet?
No, but we're going to find out soon enough, I suppose. But as we said, give us some time while we go through. We have 400 movies.
Almost.
Almost. It's a lot of movies to cover.
Actually, now that I think about it, there are probably over 400 movies that we could log because there's plenty of stuff that is brand new to us on Patreon as well.
As I said, it's gonna take some time.
It's gonna take some time. And you know, speaking of Patreon and speaking of just experimentation and doing some new things, if you're still listening to this, and I'm really, really grateful for those of you who are, Betsy and I have been toying around with the idea of possibly, maybe, eventually doing television? And I don't really know how we can do that because we have only ever done movies on this show and all of our shows on Patreon as well.
If you think doing Mission Impossible is a lofty
Is it
goal,
impossible?
an impossible task, doing television where it's 10 episodes, 20 episodes, long seasons, and there's multiple seasons, we don't even know where to begin. But there's so many great TV shows that we've never watched. You and I started watching Breaking Bad. We have not finished it.
Yeah.
We would love to watch Succession. There's 4 years of that we haven't done.
Fucking Andor?
Yeah, there's a lot of Star Wars, Marvel. There's a lot of good TV. We are in the golden age of television.
That's what they keep on telling me.
But we've been dedicating our lives to movies. So we're trying to figure out, is that something we could do? How would we do that? We would love some feedback from anybody who's listening. If you listen to a good television podcast, tell us how they do it, because I just don't have the time to listen to several more podcasts to figure out what other people are up to.
Right. Tell us how they do their formatting. Do they do an episode for every episode? Do they do one for every few episodes? Do they do one for an entire season? Do they do one for an entire series?
Do you like that? Do you not like that? Do you wish they would do it differently? Tell us your secrets because we would like to know.
I have no time to seek out other TV podcasts to steal from them how their format is. I want to hear from you folks. How do the good podcasters do it? Because we're going to be completely new to that whole format if indeed we decide to do it. Also, what out of those shows do you want us to do? I want suggestions. What do you want to hear us talk about? Please say Andor. I really, really want to watch Andor. Man, this has already been going on a whole lot longer than what I expected, Betsy. But I want to thank you, but especially I want to thank all of our listeners. If you have been here from the very, very beginning, holy crap, you are amazing. You are super fans, whether or not you email us or not.
If you've only listened to us once, thanks for checking us out. If you've made it to the end of this episode, 1,000 blessings upon you.
Yes. And you know, we always say go to patreon.com/neverseenapod to get a whole lot more content. But you know, there's already so much content out there for you. Whether you consume all of it or not, just going to the Patreon page and signing up over there tells us that you want to support us and support what we're doing here, and that you want to support really positive people on the internet. Because we're not out here trying to do a whole bunch of fucking rage bait, clickbait kind of bullshit. Yeah, we get animated sometimes and we play it up for the microphones and whatnot, but that's just us having a good time and trying to entertain you folks.
And each other mostly.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're doing this for ourselves. This is fun for us. This is our hobby.
It's the kind of thing where you're shocked anyone has ever listened to us at all.
Yeah.
but I love that anyone does. And we've actually made a lot of friends online who also do this. So thanks to them for connecting with us. Thanks to all the people who have had us on their podcasts.
Yeah.
We're always open to doing that. It's just a matter of scheduling and what is it we're talking about. But if you give me enough lead time, oh, I'll be there.
Yeah. And maybe us having this break coming up is going to reinvigorate the podcast. Maybe we can get more people on the Patreon. And maybe it'll just get our creative juices flowing so that we can start to do something a little bit different in the future. So again, with that, I'm going to say thank you again. If you've reached the end of this particular episode, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for sticking with us for 5 years. And it'd be remiss of me to not thank you, Trent, because
Aw.
I'm not the most easy person to direct when you're trying to get me to do podcasting better. I will fight you sometimes.
You have?
I don't like change, and change is hard for me. But I want this to be a better podcast, and I think I've been listening and learning. I hope I have.
I hope so.
I hope I have improved.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of recorded content with my best friend, my wife, Betsy.
Aw, that's
And-
me.
And thank you again for being my partner and co-host for all of these hundreds and hundreds of episodes over these past 5 years. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Thanks for listening to this special. Until tomorrow when the new episode comes out, my name is Trent.
My name is Betsy.
We'll catch you on the next one.
And many more.